I'm not going to give you guys the usual welcome back, guys, to Growing Tree Podcast. You already know where you are. And to be quite honest, after a certain time, we start disrespecting our audience because now you're familiar. But no, today we're talking about something centered on Christ. But before I get there, even in a long day, getting here was a bit interesting, right?
Very, not just interesting, a little bit chaotic as well. But
yeah,
I
say interesting for lack of a better word, or maybe to
downplay
the chaos that happened in between.
That's fine.
But did the jollof rice help?
Yeah, I think so. The plantain especially. I've not tasted the
plantain girl.
Of course.
This is the thing. What's the like relationship between plantain and Yoruba people? Can we delve into that for a second? Because especially Yoruba men, I feel like, or maybe it's a man thing. Because I think also men like plantain, but then Yoruba people like plantain. I don't see where Yoruba people just be like, I don't like plantain. Like, I'm Yoruba and I don't really like. Do you want plantain with that side of? Don't be like, no.
It's necessary. It's plantain. It must be there.
What is the problem? What is?
I don't think it's. I don't know. I'll need to get to everyone to ask them, but I don't think it's a Yoruba thing because I had a friend in uni. She was always having plantain with everything.
Where was she from?
Anambra and Imo, are they the same place?
No,
so I think,
different places.
I think Anambra, somewhere in between those two.
Okay, wow, you do not know your 36 countries. Wow.
You didn't have to say that out loud.
Wow.
You didn't have to say that.
I threw that under the bus.
You didn't have to say that.
I threw her under the bus. She's a guest on my podcast, by the way, guys.
They already know, apparently. A beautiful one at that.
Yes, an amazing one. Deep one, actually. Do you know what? Okay, so other people, apart from like the people that really know her, like me and her dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Don't do what you're about to do.
We call her Wura, but everybody else, they call her Kishi. But Wura is actually quite deep for her age. No, honestly, I think you're quite deep for your age. You're quite self-aware, conscious. I wish I had this much sense.
At my age?
Yes.
Oh.
I wish I had this much sense. I wish it wasn't like this much of a journey. Like now that we're just going back, now I'm in my 30s. I'm just like, we have to replay back
some of those things like things have done
earlier. But if I had sense, I'll just be like, we're owning it right from the start. Like we're owning it right from the jump.
At the end of the day, I feel like God understands why you have to like have some things at some particular age. So I always tell people that my journey in life is a little bit different. So it's necessary that I have sense. I have sense now. If I don't have it now,
when will you have it?
Exactly.
How? And most of that sense that I'm talking about, or that mentality. Because this Nigerian lingo is sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I mean sense, I'm talking about common sense. I'm talking about the ability to think on your own, to be self-aware, not to have any inference of, external third-party thoughts, that, you're able to deduce that and come up with your own assumptions and conclusions to things. I think most of those things are focused on your identity.
Yes,
Christ.
Definitely.
When did you become born again?
I like to say 2019. So 2019, basically August to be precise.
Do you know the dates?
Of course, 11. But I like to tell people that wasn't really the day because it wasn't really like I don't know what happened that day per se, right? But I just knew that was like the journey to me really giving myself to God in totality.
Okay.
But the official day I like to tell people is October. Yeah, October.
Why is that?
So 2019 June, my birthday June 9 was when all of this journey started to Christ and all of that. You don't want to know about my past.
Okay, maybe another time.
Definitely.
Because I would like to know very much so, but
another time.
Yes.
So I think in August it was very, very necessary, mathematic, right? And I was just consistently having breakdown attacks and all of that. I hate injections. Like the other thing I hate like injection is poverty.
Hey,
so I
tell me.
So is that level of hatred I have for poverty that I have for injection? So I can remember that particular time. I'm in the drama unit of my church, Chapel of Grace in Uni. And like I said earlier, people were consistently praying for me to get healed.
Yes, we're having this conversation.
It was already beginning to like look like I'm not wanting to be healed. Like I've been
Yeah,
praying
the
for
problem.
you. She gets why you not healed and
Yeah.
all of that. So I just feel like it was necessary to like start building my own walk with God.
Yeah.
So I could, just have this kind of life with God where I don't have to delegate some of these things to other people.
Okay, so it's like annoyance that made you
Not really annoyance per se, but it was one of it.
Yeah, that propelled you and was like, let me know this.
Yes, and I'm an all-in kind of person. I don't do 99.
Yeah, same here. Spot.
I don't do 99.9.
100 or
If I
nothing.
can have 100, I'm going for 100.
Yeah.
100 or nothing.
So you just went in and then you had an encounter with.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. I mean, that's just like small
Surface level.
Yeah, because I know that it's deeper.
Not too deep, but yeah, something like that.
But our topic today is consecration. Consecration.
Drum roll.
Consecrate yourself.
My friends are going to be laughing because I love this topic.
You love this
a
topic?
lot.
This is interesting because I was talking to Tammy about. I was telling you.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to Tammy about this conversation a day before you reached out to me, and then I was like, it's just a burden in my heart, like that the church needs to just be consecrated and, in this time and just separated themselves and just like clean sweep. There just needs to be a difference. There needs to be a different perspective. And then Timmy was asking me questions. So he was like, asking. So I had like epistles. You see, in the chat, it's like one question and then an epistle.
Epistle, you wish
and
to
then
reply.
one question and then an epistle.
Because it was burning in your heart and you could not keep it
I'm
in.
telling you. And then he was like, you should talk about this on your podcast. And I'm like, well, who will I talk about it with? Who will I talk about it with? And then you reached out to me and I asked you what topic, and then you're like, consecration. In Christ in
this modern world.
This modern time, yeah. And I was like, who sent you? So we're going to start from there, and I'm going to start from so I have a list of questions.
Okay, that's fine.
Not to interrogate or anything, because it's going to be like a discussion. But what does consecrating yourself for Christ mean to you personally?
I like the fact that you said mean to me personally, but then I'm still going to come from the angle of, it's still anchored on what it means to God, because what it means to me necessarily does not have to be what I'll tell people, because at the end of the day, I like to tell people that it's what God is saying about this particular subject matter.
Yeah.
I like to give you an opinion on.
Yeah.
So when I was just studying on this, one of the words on consecration that I was able to pick is the definition, the root word for consecration, and that's kadash, and it means sacred.
Okay.
So consecration basically means to be set apart, sacred, for a purposeful use, for a particular reason.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, if you're to not just go into the Bible too much, every single time consecration was mentioned, it was basically for a purpose, and it was for a person. The intent behind consecration is that you're sacred. Yeah. You're set apart.
Yes.
So consecration to me is living a set apart life. Is living a life that is distinct from the culture, system, thinking patterns, ideology, and way of doing. I like to tell people that there is a culture of the kingdom that we belong to.
Right.
Everyone has a culture. So you can't tell me that I'm just a Christian. I should be able to see some particular lifestyle, patterns of living that are in you, that help me know that indeed you belong to this kingdom.
You are.
So that's just what it is.
So consecration, from what you're saying, is being set apart.
Yes.
Being set apart for a purpose and for a use.
Yes.
Right. Now, and this consecration, the bottom line is that your lifestyle must show the working of what you proclaim.
Yes.
So it's an active thing. So it's not a passive thing. It's not like I'm just saying it.
No.
Okay, so you see consecration by how people live.
How they live.
So would you say, because now you also said something about different perspective, countercultural, kingdom culture. You mentioned all these terminologies that some of our viewers and audience, they might not understand.
Okay.
Right? And people might think maybe, so does not wearing trousers and wearing a beret and not wearing wigs,
Mm-hmm.
does that make you set apart? Because that kind of makes you different, right?
Mm-hmm.
It makes you different.
Definitely.
Yeah, you're wearing your scarf, you're not wearing your earrings.
Yeah,
It makes you different.
you don't have 3 piercings like I do and all of that kind of thing.
No tattoo, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you're consecrated. You're not wearing. You only wear skirts.
Yeah.
It does that mean
and your skirt
that,
is always, dragging all the dirt in the streets.
So does that mean you're also like consecrated? Is that what
No,
consecration
that's not what consecration meant.
Okay,
So that's like I don't know how to explain it without diving too much into all of these things. Consecration is not first about the way you look, it's the way you live. They are two different things. Lifestyle and appearance are two different things. So I can have a particular lifestyle that effectively show the culture of heaven, the culture of God's kingdom, and then my appearance does not show that. Does that not mean that my appearance should not show that this is the kingdom I come from? It definitely has to.
Okay, has a place. So how you look like has
he has his own role he plays in consecration. He has a role he plays in being consecrated. You can't tell me that you're consecrated. And I don't know if I should say this because I don't want to
say shake the table. Break it.
I don't believe bikini is something Christians should wear. I don't. I don't. I do, and I always
quite passionate about that.
I'm passionate about it because
to the cameras.
I don't believe bikini, like that thing, that tiny thing that you people wear. I don't believe that tiny thing is something a Christian should wear. I don't. And that was why I was telling my mom one day that I feel like I don't want to be called a Christian anymore. And she's like, okay, Apostle, what do you want us to start calling you? I'm like, I want them to start calling us maybe believers or Christ.
I was there before.
And she's like, why? I'm like, me and my friend that, it was just so painful to me that somebody that I hold in high esteem like that, we talk, we do all of this kind of things, she understand my standards on things, and then you think the best gift to give me for birthdays is bikini. Why? And I
should do it as a joke.
I don't know.
Why do you think, do you go to the beach a lot?
I don't. That's the thing. I do not. I'm like, I would rather not be in positions that would make me...
Maybe she was giving it to you for your honeymoon.
I don't think my husband is going to expect to see me in something like that if I get married, because I'm very conscious of myself, and I always say something that I don't want to be shallying to people.
I see.
I'm very clear on what I want when it comes to public image. I do not want to shally to people and say, oh, that's me, don't judge me. I don't want to be explaining to you and telling you don't judge me.
Yeah.
If I could avoid doing the things that will make you start having an opinion on my walk with God, I don't want that. So if I'm going to have to dress a particular way for my husband, we can as well do it indoor.
Yeah.
Sure, you get. So we're going to the beach wearing a bikini. I'm very sure Daddy will not want to say something like that.
Wow. Why did you just say Daddy wow? Stop it. No.
I had to say it like that.
Way.
So, you could. You're missing your husband already.
I'm done.
You want to go?
No, I'm not. That's not why, please. I know. Please. I don't even want to go there.
Okay.
Please, we're moving on.
Okay. You want to go? Should we take a break?
Leave me alone. You did it. Okay. How has consecration or living this life of being set apart and doing things in a different standard, how has that impacted your life?
A lot of ways. And I always tell people that I feel like the kind of life I had in the past made it easy for me to know what I'm supposed to, do now.
Okay.
I hate anything. I hate wearing anything that is too lengthy. I'm short already, so it's almost like I'm trying to cover my glory. So I was always wearing very short things. I was such a pain in the butt for my mom. Like I always say that for every single time I made my mom cry over my lifestyle in the past, I really want to win souls for it. For every single time, my mommy literally prayed me back to God. Like I understand how much a prayer really impacted my decision to come back to God. So it wasn't like I've not been there. I've done all of that. I've done all of that. Anything you could imagine, I've done it. So I did not need any convincing. So it was easy for me to see why God needed us to live a particular way, down to our appearance, down to the word we say, down to the way we respond to things, down to the things you decide to interfere on Twitter. Because consecration is not only about your dress, your choice of word. It also it has to do with the things you choose to jump on in the name of trend.
Do you know what? What was I telling you? I was telling you that behind the scenes that this week? I think it was this week. Someone sent me something. Someone sent me something. On how reels are love language now. You should add that to the love language. Sending reels is a sign of love language.
Yeah, I believe so too.
Yes. So when I saw this reel, it was hilarious.
Okay.
I cried. Like I was crying, like laughter.
Oh.
That's how much I cried. And I was like, this really made my day. Because it's so funny. But as I was crying in the middle of the cry laugh, I heard like, body shaming. And I was like, nah, it can't be. I'm going to share this content on my
so
story.
People can understand
on
what
my
it
story.
Says.
No, so they can laugh. Because it was comical. It was funny. And someone has even commented and they were laughing, right? And made the comment that they also did not sit well with me.
But you were the one that pioneered the move.
And I responded to that person that, like, kind of like, laugh all you want now because this thing is not going to be up for a long time, right? And so I get the impression to take it down, right? And so I take it down from my other
apps and everything.
Platform, social media platforms. The thing is this, I think consecration for me is something that believers we struggle with.
Yeah, that's true.
We struggle with a lot because I think one of the reasons why we struggle is because there's this push and pull between who we were and who we are. And so there's this maybe also fear that you don't want to lose yourself to become a version of yourself that you might not know. And but we see it through a negative light. Also, people always say something like, SU. Like back in the day, they had this student union that brought Christianity, a Pentecostal move to
Nigeria.
Back in Nigeria, yeah. Back in my parents' time, your parents' time, and people don't want to be. They would think setting yourself apart is to become quote unquote religious. I think that's people's fear, that they will become religious. They'll become Pharisee-like in nature. But I think that's the biggest lie.
Yes, I agree too.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest lie because it impedes rather on the freedom Christ has given you.
Exactly.
And freedom is progressive. Freedom is progressive as salvation is progressive.
Yes.
And so I think you get to a point in your walk with God and it becomes monotonous because you are not letting go of some things to experience him in a full measure. Because by walking with him and being consecrated for him, because it's not for you, it's for him. If your house is dirty, the person that lives in that house is the one that would reap the consequences.
You feel the impact of the dirt in your house more consistently than any other person coming in,
anyone else. And if we are vessels, which we are, temples, and the Lord is an entity that lives inside of us to dominate. There are spaces. He feels the impact of that. He cannot move because he cannot change, right? He cannot change his holiness. He cannot change his righteousness. He cannot change his being. He cannot change, right? So what will have to happen is that we then have to either surrender or then we limit his impact and his move, thereby
expression in our lives,
thereby limiting our freedom.
Yes.
Somebody give me something.
I agree to that to Rema. I agree to that to some extent because I feel like at the end of the day, when we talk about freedom, and I've not heard something like freedom is progressive, I've never heard it before. So it's really something I want to sit down with you and talk about later.
Okay.
Is that when we tend to see freedom as, I'm free and I can do anything, and not understanding that now I am free to live the life I was originally created to live. So the question that goes to say, I'm not supposed to ask God, what was the original design you have for us?
Right.
Because now that you saved us from the life that you did not expect for us, what was the original intent? What was the original design? And I always tell people that I am of the opinion and belief that the original design for freedom, according to God's design, is that every single man live to the fullest of their being. We are imago Dei, we're like God, we are fully God, were fully man to some extent, right? So at the end of the day, you have to understand that what are the things that God would naturally not do, that is not in God's design to do. God would not wear bikini.
Hell,
God would not
really?
use curse word.
Okay, yes.
God would not speak with so much profanity. God would not try to, fit into some cultural standard just because. I was telling somebody one time on this bikini issue when she was asking me that, okay, what do you think about this whole thing?
God will not wear bikini.
He wouldn't. And I'm like, at the end of the day, it's not a matter of abroad they wear it freely, so it's not something that is have a problem with there and all of that. The question is, in the kingdom of God, America is not my standard for living. Canada is not my standard for living. The kingdom of God is my standard for living. So you ask yourself that, what are the things that they would naturally not do in the kingdom of God? Would God want to fancy seeing all of us walk? I'm trying to create the image in my life. Okay, so just imagine. Because let's just assume that, okay, this is Eden, back to Eden. And all of us are already living together. And all of us are doing everything together. And God is with us and everything is happening. Would God want to fancy? I don't know. But all in all, this is just to say, at the end of the day, consecration is not about just getting the freedom. I mean, freedom is not about just, living your life anyhow you want, now being free for the grip of hell and all of that. It is an empowerment to now live the life that God has and want for you. Basically.
An empowerment. Well, let me pin that, right? And then let me digress a little to what you just said, because some people may be listening and say, oh, but in the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve were naked, so what's wrong with bikini? I'm just representing the Eden-like state. I might not be reinstated to Eden, right? What would you say about that?
What I'll say about that is, we're no longer in that time. It's very clear. God saw the need to clothe man when they already ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. If God did not see the need to clothe man, because it was necessary that now that man had this knowledge and man has been exposed to this kind of understanding of what can be done to the body, like to the human body, he saw the need to clothe them. If not, he could have just said, doesn't matter, since I created you guys to just be, so just continue like that. Everybody will have probably been having sex with each other every day, and all sort of things will have been happening. And I could even say that was why, if you look back at the beginning in Genesis, why some things was easy is because we were living in a state of holiness without any form of perverseness. Our mind was pure. Our innocence was intact. Our mind was not pervert with different things happening. We were sanctified. We were fully, not a little bit, not 90%, 100% holy.
Yeah.
There was no form of filth, no form of blemish, no form of debt. I always tell people that you don't understand what God has done for you if you've not engaged in some lifestyle in the past. Because I know what it takes me. I know what it takes me even till now to have to fight the
temptations.
You understand? At times
we're getting to that as well.
You're just studying the Bible. You're just living your normal righteous life.
Yeah.
And you just remember the way one guy was, doing something with you on the...
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, why did this have to come right now in this moment?
Yeah,
or maybe somebody is walking past you and just like, I remember every single thing we did together. You don't want to live with those thoughts. You don't want to live with those constant image. It's almost like the devil is trying to remind you of what you've done with your life. So if God saw the need to clothe man back then, immediately that they disobeyed this order.
Yeah, immediately.
I don't see, that's not an excuse.
I mean, I think you said that well, to be fair. I think you said that well. I think in the Eden-like states, we were experiencing a glory.
Yes.
In God, we experienced a glory that we were one with Him.
Definitely.
in that regard. And I feel like as soon as we fell and then our eyes were open, because what happened was like sin came, right? And sin is what brought separation. Sin is separation from God, right? As soon as that happened, and then our ancestors could see that they were naked, and then that knowledge brought about shame, and brought about perversity. Immediately, it also brought about like a separation, but the wrong type of separation. Do you get? Now God's calling us to the right type of separation.
Yes.
Because sin was the evil type of separation.
Yes.
And I think you said it all. Like, if God was able to say, okay, I'm clothing you so you can be protected.
Yeah.
Because that's what he came, like, that's what he brought. He brought salvation immediately. One of them is like, I'm clothing you so you can be protected. So now you can protect yourself from the effect of the separation, the effect of the sin that has a hold on you now, right? I think consecration then is the opposite, to go into a separation from those things. And I suppose you have a point in there. Everybody might not agree in terms of the bikini, but I don't even think the bikini is
it's not the major thing,
right? It's not a rule and regulation type of thing. Do not. I think, to be honest with you, your relationship with God. Let me share a scripture.
Please do.
Because this is how it started. And I think I've been on a journey where consecration was not something that I prioritized. So I did whatever I wanted, however I wanted to. Thy will be done, my own will, not his.
And you could easily see the difference between now that you're not consecrating yourself intentionally.
Yeah. And what you're allowed to permit, and what comes into your zone, in your mindset, in your thoughts, in how you reason. It makes how you relate with the Holy Spirit.
Definitely.
It makes a whole lot of difference.
Yes.
Okay, so he said, don't become partners with those who reject God. How can you make, so this is 2 Corinthians 6, 14 to 18.
Okay.
Don't become partners with those who reject God. How can you make a partnership out of right and wrong? That's not partnership, that's war. Is light best friends with dark?
No.
Does Christ go strolling with the devil?
No.
This was playing onto what you said, bro. Do trust and mistrust hold hands? Who would think of setting up pagan idols in God's holy temple? But that is exactly what we are. Each of us, a temple in whom God lives. God himself put it this way: I will live in them, move into them. I'll be their God and they'll be my people. So leave the corruption and compromise. Leave it for good. Don't link up with those who will pollute you. I want you all for myself. I'll be a father to you. You'll be my sons and daughters to me. The word of the Master God.
I love that particular verse you just read. And one thing I think I love about this verse is that don't pollute yourself. Compromise. Consecration is like the boundary you put in place for compromise to not have a hold over your life.
100.
You can't. I tell people that consistently, because I have people reach out to me and say things like, Kishi, are you able to do this thing, especially with the kind of background you had before, the kind of life you had before? And I tell them, it's learning to put intentional limit on yourself.
Give us a practical example of this.
Practical example. So why I tend to sway towards the sexuality side is because that was my reality. I had literally I stopped sharing my testimony because I'm becoming more conscious now, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting older. I don't want my future husband to like start getting scared.
That's a lie of the enemy.
Definitely, I know that, right?
Don't do it.
But it really was a thing at a point in time.
Don't do it.
Last year, it was a serious thing.
I understand. That's actually a real life attack.
Serious.
I'm telling you the 100.
Serious.
100%. Go on.
So I and this lady was just asking me, how were you able to, live a life of sexual purity, be the kind of person you had? And I told her it was hard at some point, but when God helped me see what grace really is, my life changed forever. And I like to tell people this. I'll quote what Pastor Ayo Ajani of Petra always say. It would say, grace is both power and pardon. Grace is not just pardon, it's power. Pardon from and power to. And this is how I like to explain to people. I learned this from Pastor Graham Cook of Brilliant, whatever, and all of that. And he was saying something, because then I was always fighting sexual lust. It was a big deal. I could literally sit down and undress a man in front. People listening to some things are only peculiar to men. I'm like, you've not met me. Because it's not peculiar to a particular gender.
Right.
It's the effect of sin has it knows no gender.
It's not
gender based. So, and I had to tell God that, you cannot allow me continue live like this, and then on Sunday I go to church and serve, I speak in tongues, I do all this thing.
Preach.
And why it was important for me to like live a life of purity is because I know that I have a calling as a prophet. And one Bible verse I always hold dear to my heart is that a Bible verse that said, without purity you can't see Jesus. And I always tell people I want to see Jesus daily.
Wow.
And because I want to see Jesus, purity is key to me. And Christ is not coming for a perverse bride.
Right.
He's coming for a pure and holy bride.
That's right.
And I want to be that kind of bride.
Yeah.
Not because I feel like, heaven is coming now. No,
Right.
I want to live ready.
Right.
So whatever happens tomorrow, I'm not scared. I'm
That's right.
ready to do everything
That's
with him.
right.
So what happened then is that knowing that if I'm going to step out of this reality I once had and enjoy the dominion that God has given to me through Christ Jesus on the cross, I have to say consecration. I have to start consecrating myself. And God said, consecration is not some big spiritual thing. It's just learning to put boundaries in place. And one of the boundaries is that ever since then, you can't call me by 10 p.m. as a guy. Why are you calling me? I'm not in your destiny. The call can't wait till tomorrow. And if you can't wait, send me a text. I'm big on email.
Okay.
My friends know. They will tell you, if you can't reach Kishi, send an email to her. She will see immediately, because I check my email very, very frequently. So I don't keep male friends unnecessarily. I don't have some level of conversation with guys. You cannot be talking to me and be telling me that. You can't say some things to me because you're not
I'm
a
not
lady.
there. Because you won't be there.
You should not be discussing my period with me. Why? And I don't do it to you. It's very rare for any of my male friends to say, Kishi was telling me that she was having period pain. Why am I discussing that with you? Why? It is just intentional boundaries I've put in place to not allow this thing have a hold over me.
Yeah.
And before you know it, they begin to wear off.
Yeah.
They begin to wear off gradually. And by God's grace, I've been on this journey, not by my help or by my own manpower,
100,
but by God's grace and His strength. And another example I'll use is the dress one and even words. My mommy beat the hell out of me as a young.
My mommy.
Literally, because my mom would tell you, you can't use cursive word in this house. I won't tolerate that, and I'm so thankful. Back then, it would have looked like she's abusive, but I'm thankful she used the rod and didn't say, I'm just going to use the word, sit me down. I imagine that would be doing all those ones. My mom don't have time to be sitting down.
Yeah.
She would research. Sure, you get. So there was a time in my life where one sentence is coming out, a cursive word is following it.
Wow.
One sentence is coming out, something like, and it was so bad. And when I begin to see that, people would not even trust the integrity of God's word in my life if I preach to them.
Yeah.
Because my life is not bearing any fruit of the God I'm claiming to know.
Yeah.
It was something I had to consciously do. And what I started doing there was start setting limit on how I speak.
Okay.
I will set timer. I'm not kidding you.
Yeah.
You're not going to speak beyond this time for today.
Wow.
I'm not kidding.
That's really disciplined.
Yes, very. I'm a very intentional woman.
Wow.
And I take pride in this. Because I always tell people, Christian life is not a by chance life that you suddenly find yourself intimate with God. You just suddenly find that you're in love with God.
It just happened.
It did not
we
just
went deep by accident. I just
It's intentional. Consecration is intentional.
100.
The Bible says, put yourself under. You put your flesh under, and you then work right like a cloth.
So I'm cut off the hands.
Exactly. So I'm intentionally telling myself it was very hard.
Yeah.
But it's doable.
That's reality.
So far it's doable.
That's reality.
I can do it, and I'll ask God for help.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm going to share something about myself, right? My journey. When I became born again, one of my friends had this vision about me, and he saw in a fridge a bunch of items in the fridge, and then someone take an item from a level on the fridge, take it out and put it on a different shelf, and that item was the only one on the shelf. And he woke up, and when he prayed about it, God was telling him that was me. That there was at that point he said it was calling me to separation in a different state that most people will not even endeavor. I didn't really understand this
at that point in time.
I didn't get it for a very long time. But many years after, we can skip to maybe 7-8 years.
Wow.
Yes, I was in a fellowship, and she's my spiritual mom now. My spiritual mom tells me, just it was not even we weren't in a fellowship meeting. I was going to my car, walking to my car. She just turns to me and she's like, "Don't compromise." And I'm like, "I won't." She was like, "No, don't compromise." And then she said like 3 times, and I was like, "Yeah, okay." And after that, for years after I compromised, every step of the way.
Like you literally lived in compromise.
I lived in compromise, and it will happen like it would be like yeast, very slowly creeping into my life. Very slowly, I'm compromising. Okay, I feel like God is telling me to do this, but this is not. It's not really impacting me like that. Do you understand? I'm able to do this. I can do a bit of this, right? So it might have started out like, oh, okay. I knew for the longest time that I should put the Jack Daniels away. I knew for the longest time, but I never used to get drunk or have like bouts of tipsiness.
So you felt it was something you could just...
So I was just like, I don't understand why I should put it away. Do you understand? Because it doesn't affect me in any way. I can drink a whole bottle. I will look at you in the face. I would drive you. I'll pick you up. I was a functional drunk. I was a functional drunk. And because I never used to throw up. Other guys will be throwing up, they'll be misbehaving. I'm like, why these guys misbehaving themselves, embarrassing themselves?
Top of the
clique. Me, I'm just there as a boss. I felt I was a boss in Jack Daniels.
Like you were thinking it was something to like take pride in.
Right. And now afterwards I'll still go to church and speak in tongues. I'll still do prayer. I'll still do this. I'll still do all those things. It got to a point that it started from there. The pleasure started from there. Then slowly increased. Before maybe it was like a cup that I would take. I'll be like, okay, it's just a cup. Then I'll finish the bottle. Then maybe it'll be like 2 bottles. Then maybe it'll be like an each. I have to have a drink. I need to drink. Like I need to drink. Yes, if there's a drink in this house, I'll drink it. If my dad cannot leave a bottle somewhere and he'll come back and meet it there. He can't. And this whole time I'm here, I'm still trying to read my Bible. I'm still trying to attend all the conference. God is still speaking.
Like you were trying to live a Christian
life. And then it started slowly, then it built up to sexual immorality.
Yeah.
They're struggling with masturbation and pornography. And it started small. Maybe you read a book or you watch a movie that exposes you to like R-rated like content, right? That is embedded in your mind. And you just like one day you just read a book that has like maybe a sexual content that is explicit.
Like super romance.
Right, like you have the billionaire and the maid. Then you the playboy and his sheep. then you go there, you read it. Okay, you read it for a couple of weeks.
And before you know, you're trying to like
then you've now googled pornhub.com. Do you understand? Let me just watch small. Do you understand? Then watching small will not have a grip on you. Then you watch your small will now become big.
And before you know it, it's your life.
Yeah, then before you know it, even the prayer that you were trying to pray before you,
it's no longer happening again.
It's not. It's not. You're distracted, diverted, no impact, no authority, empty, religious in the action. Because what God has called me to do, I was not doing it.
Yes.
Because the depth that God was calling me to get into, I was not doing it. I want to experience God. I'm talking about the glory of God. I'm talking about this, right? Lord, I want you. Lord, I give myself away. But actually, I'm holding all of myself.
All of these things.
All of myself. And that comes with trust issues. That now came with doubt. That came with insecurity. It comes with self-esteem. It now comes with meanness. You're not kind. You're not as loyal. Maybe you're triggered easily. You're more irritated. You're not as patient. Because these things have impacts.
Definitely.
It has. If the fruit is what identifies us as his children, not the pastoral, not the apostolic, not the fivefold ministry, not evangelism, not this, not that. If fruit, and he said fruit in John 15, fruit, he didn't say fruit. He said fruit, by your fruit in singular, and he was talking about love.
Yes.
That they shall know you, because in love everything else comes under.
Definitely.
And so if that is missing, if the love is dying by the actions that you're impeding yourself, you are putting shackles back on yourself by the actions you make, by the things that you do, then, as I said before, freedom is progressive. Then you're not living that freedom in Christ. You're not living it to the fullest extent
that He wants you to.
Yeah, so it's easy for you, even the music you listen to, that your flesh wants to vibe with, that your past wants to connect with, that is not aligned with what God is doing and who God is and who you are in Christ. Yeah, because you want to fit in, because you want to be cool, because you want to be
cool and Christ-like.
Yeah, Christ-like. Yeah, you want to be so cool that they'll be like, "Are you a Christian? Oh my gosh, I can't believe it." Then you now lose your identity
at the end of it.
That, like, the way the righteousness is just muckled. They can't even separate, like that, as the scripture said, mistrust and trust.
They can't go
Christian
hand in hand.
and devil. Water and oil is now.
It's mixed
together, and in the middle of all of that, there are idols that you're just resurrecting, but at the same time you're calling Jesus. But there are idols in your heart you're molding and you're building. So it had to come to a time where there was a proper surrender.
And it's a deliberate intention.
Proper surrender, and it was something that was hard. It was hard to do. It was hard to do, but I got to the point where there was more to experience in God. There was more to experience in God. There was more God had to offer that I was not experiencing.
Yes.
That everything else was not satisfying to me. And me looking for satisfaction in those things ended up being exhaustible.
Yes.
They came to an end and they didn't really truly satisfy or delight.
And you find out that it's not even God holding back this more of Him from you.
No.
It is your choices, your lifestyle, the things you're holding on to that is limiting you and impeding your ability to step into the more of God.
That's it. So those things had to give. And then the music I'm listening to, the TV shows I watch, the things that, and it's not like a set of rules or laws. By the time, if you are being consecrated, you are conscious of the Spirit of God that is here all the time. You have to touch base with who is inside of you and who owns you. There's an ownership. You have to touch base with Him because you're now in a partnership.
Definitely.
You're doing these things together. So as you're looking at things, He's looking at it as well. As you're seeing things, you're listening, He's hearing it. So you have to know that He has an impression, He has feelings, emotions, and He's inside of you. So it's either you ignore it and pretend that He's not there.
And the more you do that, the more you numb your ability to sense how God is feeling in you. I was telling somebody something. Every single time you go into that room to have sex with this guy, is God comfortable on that bed? Because it looks like it's normal. I don't have a problem with premarital sex. Okay, that's good. Because society has told you that it's okay to cohabit with a man before you guys get married. That's fine, do it. But one question you should ask yourself is this: how comfortable is God in me every single time this guy gets on me? And I was telling Ava, one thing I learned, and I learned this from Esther. She would say this, Kishi, you want to get to a place where you are eventually enjoying those things that God created, because sex is God creation, not the devil. It's God creation.
Of course not.
I want to be... Let me just say it the way I always say to my friends. I want to be having sex with my husband, and the angels are telling God that we're coming. Something is happening right there, and we want to be there because it is worship unto you. Because the aroma is something pleasing.
Worship.
And she was like, it's sex. I said, yes, sex can be worship to God if it is done in the proper way. If it is, and it then goes to even help you understand that every single thing God created was meant to worship Him. So consecration is not limited to one thing. And it's not just, like you said, that freedom is progressive. Consecration is progressive too. I was telling somebody that there are generic consecration rites, that these are just the things that every Christian has to do. And they are the ones that that this is me.
Yours.
This is me. I cannot do this because this is what God has told me to avoid. And this is about the calling of God upon my life.
Yes.
My walk with God. Yes. My life and the kind of impact He wants to create with me.
Yes.
So you have to just know this thing. You know the generic one for everybody.
Yes.
And you know yours. And you keep to it even if everybody else is doing it.
It's doing. Before we move on to the next question that I wanted to ask you, I just wanted to make it clear that convictions are are personal. I think one of the things that has happened in the faith is when convictions have not been personal and has been made a generalization, it has turned into doctrine. And doctrine of man. And so maybe someone is convicted about something and it was personal to you, and then you've now made it a doctrine and brought it to the church. It's now become a yoke to other people and enslavement. So I want to make it clear, consecration, there are convictions God will give you personally as a believer, but the standard would always be obedience to Christ. The standard is you should obey Christ. Whatever Christ is asking you to do, obedience is the standard. From there, convictions will arise on what exactly is tailored to you and for your growth and for your walk and for your destiny and where God is taking you to. So I just need to make that clear, because we've talked about conviction. We talk about how consecration differs from traditional beliefs.
Yes.
We've touched about that. Now I want us to go into the place of there's so many things in this, but I'll try. I want us to go into. I have a question that, okay, in today's fast-paced world, right? Is busy. Everybody's busy doing things as individuals, right? How can we find time and space to dedicate ourselves, like, to Christ, right? And I'll make it 2 for 1, because in that sense as well, there's distractions and temptations as well, you know. So, what are the practical steps can one take? What kind of practical stuff can one take to stay committed to their consecration?
So thank you very much. The first one, at the end of the day, I always tell myself this thing, that my life is never going to be less busier than it is right now. And that's why true. I like to give myself that reminder is that there should never be a time where I'm missing out on every single commitment I've made to God, because God has never stopped being committed to me despite how busy He is.
Yeah.
So the fast-pacedness of our world right now should not excuse me from living a life of intimacy, deliberately pursuing simplicity in my walk with God, intentionally stewarding the presence of the Holy Ghost in my life, doing every single thing. And I will not just focus the attention on doing alone, being. There are seasons of life where you don't need to do anything, you just need to be. I'm currently in that season right now. I'm not actively doing anything. I'm not actively out there trying to preach the gospel to people, trying to disciple people, trying to do all of these things. I'm just living my life and cultivating a walk of righteousness with Christ.
That's right.
So, and it is actually a very good question for me, because even right now I'm asking God that question now, because like I just started working in a tech company, very fast-paced. I kid you not. I like to pride myself in the fact that I'm a queen of structure, but the structure of this company has made me see that my discipline, my structure, I don't have it.
Where's your structure?
I don't have it. Because there are a lot of meetings we have to do in a day, all of these things. And to the practicality of it, God has been teaching me how to deliberately pursue Him without burden.
Wow.
Because there is a place of trying to feel like, oh, that guilt, like, oh, I'm not doing as I should. And God is like, what is the measure? What are the metrics you're using to measure your growth and your walk with me?
Right.
It's not in the number of hours.
Right.
Though the time, the quantity matters as much.
It does.
But there are seasons where God is going to give you a slack and say, see, girl, quantity don't matter in this season.
Yes,
it is quality. Because I understand the demand I've placed on your life.
Yeah.
So you need to understand times and seasons of your life.
Yeah.
Because we are going to continuously get into a world where every single thing is fast-paced.
Yeah.
So, but you have to also cultivate a culture of simplicity around you. I always say to myself and even to my friend, why I don't have notifications on, it's very rare for you to see me in a place and my phone is ringing. It's very rare, because my DND is mostly on most of the time.
Yeah.
I don't get any notification from any other app aside my Bible app.
Yeah.
I did it intentionally.
Okay.
I created a culture where I control what I want to pay my attention to.
I see what you mean.
So it does not matter the importance of the message.
I love this discipline.
It will be me that will decide and say, I want to go on WhatsApp to go and check.
Yes.
Not like, notifications coming. Okay, let me
Yeah,
go
what
check.
will happen? Yeah.
Okay. No, because it just rids you of the opportunity of really being in the moment.
Yeah.
So understanding how to create that culture around you. The outside world cannot be crazy, and your own inner world too is crazy, at the same time. When I just moved to Lagos, and I thought I was complaining. I think I was complaining to you. I'm like, I can't live. I don't think Lagos is for believers.
Excuse me, please.
It's for sinners.
Please.
It's for sinners from
Keep
the
up the pace, sweetheart. Keep up the pace.
I'm just joking.
Okay, we Lagosians were here. Wait.
So like, how do you guys do it? Like,
Yeah,
what?
Listen. This is what we call the pressure points. You know, when you're in the pressure points, the beans has to cook.
And that
has to be soft.
And that's why I was telling somebody that if you see a believer who really has the fruit of the Spirit vividly present in them, living in Lagos without a car on the mainland, please
show them respect.
You need to respect them, guys. I salute you. You are the real deal.
MVPs.
After Christ, it is you people. I'm even kidding. You are in the third heavens like this, sitting with the 24 elders. Because I don't know how you guys are doing it. I get offended like 3 times in a day. And I'm like, why is this guy doing this? Why is the conductor trying to pull my clothes? Why are you trying to touch me? Just give me my balance. You don't need to touch me. And it has made me learn to sit with God and just tell God that I just realized that I really need help. I need help. So you need to understand that the world is not going to change. This is the world. That is how the world is supposed to be. That's why God created us and put us here. So God had to tell me to stop complaining about how Lagos is. Lagos is not going to change for you because you're here, Kishi. I don't think I'm going to ask your company to reduce your workload. You're getting paid to do the work.
Exactly.
So it is you that will decide how to wake up on time.
Yes.
So I have to shift my normal wake up time to it and earlier. And I'm so thankful God has been teaching me that from my uni days.
Yes. So it's
my
not as hard.
Me, why are you waking up by 4 a.m. Kishi? Class is not starting until 9. What's wrong with you? So I'm used to it. And should I tell you the funny part? I'm living with Muslim currently. I'm not kidding you. My cousins are Muslims.
Wow.
So you could imagine what it is like sitting in the midst of everybody, and I'm the only one there. Nobody to influence me. Like I literally have nobody to influence me right now where I am currently. So God is teaching me how to deliberately, cultivate that lifestyle by yourself. And also, another thing I like to tell people is don't put pressure on yourself. See, this Christian walk, as much as it's a marathon and it's a race, is still not a marathon
to the swift.
Sure, you get. I've learned to tell myself that God knows how best to help me. Because I could remember when I first started to take this job, I was so worried because I love this. My life has been quantity filled with God.
I see.
There has been striking between uni. There has been COVID year. All through my COVID year 2020, I was isolated. I can count the number of times I went out in 2020. Nobody saw me. All my friends. It was such a big deal for anybody to say they were seeing me then because I was just deliberate about being isolated.
Yeah.
And God is like, that was why I had to push you in that season.
Yeah.
In this season now, you will meet with people every day. Yeah. You will go to work. Yeah. You will live with people that will be playing Ashake beside you and they don't care. They don't give a hoot. And that's fine.
Of course.
I've learned to stop complaining about the fact that my cousins are playing some song beside me because it's their house. I can't complain.
It's their song.
So I've had to create that culture for myself.
Yeah.
And stop pressuring myself and say, Kishi, do what you can do today and trust that God is delighted in it. It is 2 hours you can put in today. For example, today I couldn't do my devotion because I didn't even know that it was going to take me 3 hours or 2 hours to navigate the same state. I'm like, what? When you told me, I'm like, really?
I love how surprised you are by this. I love how surprised you are.
And my cousin was like, Kishi, you need to start coming to terms with the fact that this is not Ogun
Lagos,
State.
baby.
This is Lagos. So I've learned to stop putting burden on myself.
Yeah.
And just enjoy what I can get in with God.
Yeah.
So in my commute time, I try to, get in talks and also change the dynamics of my intimacy life with God. So my intimacy is not just built on prayer alone. It's not just built on studying the Bible. I've learned to also just sit down and just, I'm walking. While I'm listening to a song, and in that moment, I'm allowing God to speak to me.
Yeah.
And if I need to attend to somebody, I continue.
Yep.
Then I'm back. I'm like, okay, why did we drop off?
Yep.
You were saying something the
Yep.
other time. I had to go attend to this person. Like,
Yeah.
I understand. I saw it. So
Yeah.
don't put burden on yourself. Don't pressure yourself. God
Yeah.
understands the times and season of your life.
Yeah.
So maximize every
Take advantage.
season.
Yes. Take advantage.
Take advantage of it.
It's wisdom.
So the practicality side of how to. What was the second question you asked?
What's the second? Temptation. How to avoid
Distractions and all of that.
and to be constant in putting these steps and being committed to consecration. I think you've even touched on it, to be fair.
The key point is knowing that you cannot do all of this thing by yourself.
Yeah.
2021, I felt so bad and I was so disappointed in myself. I talked about my sexual purity journey. I have been priding myself in for that almost 3 years straight
Nothing.
up. Good girl. Like, people, it was very visible to even me that I was already beginning to like grow
Be
this.
self-righteous.
Like, people will come and meet me and tell me that, oh, I want to just ask, how are you able to like overcome addiction? And I would not even talk about God in all of it. I was just like, it is discipline. It is. I don't talk to guys at a particular time of the day.
Oh yeah, now.
I don't. You can call me and I'll pick your call. I was that kind of person. You would never find me pointing them back to God.
Wow.
And God had to allow me I use this word very carefully. He had to allow, meaning that I know that God, it's possible that God could have prevented that from happening. I don't want to sound like I'm saying some heresy, but what happened that day was December. Something that happened, and that was even one of the way I was able to understand some of the things that trigger some sexual lust I have.
Yeah.
So something that happened in my house, we had families over because it was my sister's wedding year. So family were still staying over for holiday, Christmas. It was just a very big free house, and not like I hate having full people around me, but due to my health condition and all of those kind of things, too much people around me just stresses me. Once I'm stressed, I'm getting cranky and all of that. So I was just so cranky. I was being unnecessarily rude to everybody in the house. And then after realizing what I've done, I was so mad at myself. And I was trying to just let go of my anger at myself. So I just invited a friend, like, let's go and
Hang out.
dinner. And I told this guy by myself, I'm not going back home. I'm following you to your house. And this guy was like, oh no, you can't do that. Kishi, you're a Christian. I'm like, of course, do you think I don't know I'm a Christian? I still want to go. And like, this guy literally tried to protect me from myself.
Wow.
I'm not kidding you. So I always say it's like to him every single time he tells me that he regretted what happened. I'm like, you did your best.
Yeah.
You did your best, right?
Yeah.
And I insisted. And that day, oh God, I have never seen God's presence in my life like I saw it that day. Why I was having sex.
I know what you mean.
I'm not kidding you.
I actually get it.
You know when you're doing something insane.
I know.
I finished and I was shaking. And he was like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, the glory of God is here. No, it can't be. If you see this podcast, if that guy sees this podcast, he will laugh so bad because he will be remembering that day. I should have like, the glory of God is here. It's like, Kishi, are you
okay?
I said, yes. I saw God now. I called my friend and I'm like, Shelly, you won't believe what just happened. He's like, what happened? He said, I just had sex with a guy. He said, what? I said, that's not the main thing. The main thing is that while he was happy, I saw God. He said, Kishi, are you okay? And what happened that day that I was able to get eventually was that God was telling me, my presence would never leave you, but my help is dependent on you asking for it.
Wow.
So it was right there, but I did not ask for help, and because I did not ask for help, there was nothing. There was no way he could have helped me.
Wow. But his presence was there.
He made sure I saw him, so it wasn't a matter of
this is real.
And it took me a whole month to get over the fact that it just dawned on me that I had been so drunk on my own supply that I feel like it's discipline, willpower, intentionality.
It was the root. He went to the root.
And I was so shattered. For a once, I could not post anything on I cannot even preach about Christ.
Yeah,
because I was just like,
hypocrisy.
What do I want to preach?
Yeah.
Till today, I think that's why it's very rare for you to see me talk about anything sexual purity on my status, because I'm just like, I can't.
Wow, and you said it here on Growing Tree Podcast.
I can't, because it just dawned on me that, Kishi, you don't have the
God is good.
capacity to
God is
keep
good.
yourself in faith. You
God
do
is
not.
good. God is
It is not your ability to love God
That's right.
that strengthens your intimacy
right.
with God. It is
That's right.
God's ability to love you.
That's
and
right.
that's why even in the days you cannot love him, even in the days where I feel like, oh God, I don't like you anymore, he is still able to keep me from falling. So I don't, since then I stopped teaching people how to set time and say don't call one person. I don't know I don't know what you will do practically, but the key thing and sustaining power to stand long and to give you longevity for sustainability on this long haul is asking for help. So that's why in days where I'm just like feeling like, oh God, and it even gets better along the way
time,
because now that you're asking him for help, he's able to tell you the major things. God literally designed we call it I can't remember what you call it, but it's something like these are the things to avoid, these are the things that trigger lust in you. And he told me,
like the root cause, like
don't
root analysis.
Do you get? Don't all guys, Kishi, when you all guys, and especially the ones that this is conversation I had with God. When you all guys that use perfume, he told me don't all guys that start sniffing their body. Don't do it. I'm kidding you.
You're a creep. You were a creep before.
I was, and he's like, don't do it anymore. So even now in church, they know I don't hug. Because it was like, the more you do that, you're opening yourself up. It's almost like as you hug them, you're becoming vulnerable.
And don't be hard guy. You know, sometimes we always do like, I'm hard, I have overcome. I'm a hard guy. I can't do this. No, I'm not a hard guy.
I'm not a hard guy.
Hard guy will make you fall.
So if I had not asked God for help, he wouldn't have told me. And he gave me limits. You don't attend wedding parties, anyhow. So if I'm attending a party, I'm going with a friend. Because you don't want to go there and start imagining your life with your own husband that is not even existing yet. And before you know it, somebody is using as a pick-me-up and saying, do you care for a drink? And you are saying, oh yes, because I'm trying to get out of my fantasy. And you're picking your bag before you're following somebody home. And before you know it, something has happened. And I say, it dawned on me. The presence of God was here.
If I knew.
So he gave me those things and said, these are the things to avoid. And since then, it's just been so good.
Had I knew.
So good.
I love it.
So just depend on God's help.
It's so good. This is so good. I love it. I love the practicality. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
No, honestly, I love the wisdom in it and just the authenticity. For real, because I feel most people will relate. They can relate to this. And on that note, because I don't think there's anything else that we can even use to say this is a landing place for us, because it's already landed. You took the plane and you even you dug it, you crashed it in the ground. You let it burn. Let it burn, let the fire fall in flames. But I appreciate you, Kishi.
Thank you for
because just the vulnerability. Thank you for sharing with us on Growing Tree. There's so many things we touched. There's so many things, and this topic is so deep. It's so broad.
So broad.
Maybe in season 2, when whatever. Maybe in season 2 we'll bring it back up again, because it's something that cannot be spoken enough. And it's such a bulky.
I feel like questions are going to even come out. Like you could imagine people asking you. There was one question he asked earlier about the fact that what if what you're convicted about, you're trying to like ask other people to not do it, those kind of things. There are so many things that people will get to start asking, like, okay, how do I do with this? How do I do this? How do I do that? This kind of things.
And we're here. Send in your questions. We're here. We'll answer it to the
Boun
best
is
of our
equipped to answer you guys.
I'll send some of it to Kishi as well, because you need the wisdom. We help each other. In this walk, in this journey. Definitely. You're not alone. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for plugging in today. We usually have a challenge, Kishi.
What's that?
On this podcast.
What's that?
Is a tongue twister challenge. Anyway, you say what?
You mean?
Makagini.
You didn't tell me that.
We have a tongue twister challenge. You have to say growing tree is glowing tree 5 times. It's very easy, but make it fast. No slow. So you have to say it quickly. It's a tongue twister. Growing tree is glowing tree. And say that 5 times for the audience. Look in the camera.
Okay. I don't.
Are you prepared?
Myself. Okay, let's do this.
In 3, 2, 1.
Growing to Yellow card. Okay.
Yeah, should I do it? Okay. I should give you countdown again. Okay, in 3, 2.
Growing tree is glowing tree. Growing tree is glowing tree. Growing tree is glowing tree.
What's that?
Glowing tree is growing.
What's that?
Glowing tree is.
It's growing tea, yeah. It's a growing tea.
I did it!
It's
Yes,
a
to my future children, you cannot beat me. Your mommy is the tongue twister. I'm the tongue twister.
A slow tongue twister. Look at this girl.
I have to use wisdom now. I put support
Not
them
so.
the job with my wisdom.
Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. Peace, guys. Love and love, peace and joy. Follow us on Boun_A and YouTube at Boun Olufe. Until we meet again next time. Cheers, guys. Bye. Yeah.
So to summarize,
Shepherd doesn't begat or beget. Begat? Is it beget or begat? Oh, shepherd doesn't begat.
Beget. I think it's beget.
If one says, if one says that it was.
I'm trying to assume that
It was. It was people.
But you're right. Anything you say, you're right. We're not going to take any slander. We're not going to take any
Shepherd
slip.
doesn't begun.
It's not begun, it's beget. You're actually right. It's beget. Take my word.
I don't like them at all. I work with.
I am very, very good.